Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We do have quorum. I want to welcome everybody to the fourth day of our Budget Committee. As usual, I'd like to let everyone know that you can watch us on YouTube Live at Toronto City Council, and you can follow us on your table or smartphone at toronto.ca/council. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none. Now, before we get into the presentations, I'll just go over the format of what we've been doing and what we'll be doing today. We've been listening to all the agencies and divisions come before us to present their budgets. We've been asking questions. Today, on day 4, we will be actually going to, we'll be doing let me get to it, there it is. Toronto Public Library will be doing a presentation, and then we have other city programs and other divisions will be asking questions. That'll take place this morning. We do have the police. They can't make it until 1:30. So depending on the timing of how we are going through this morning, we will probably recess if we get done early, and police services will be here at 1:30 to do a presentation and for questions. We also, on Friday, there were a number of potential questions on some confidential matters that had to deal with the budget. And a few of our colleagues had mentioned they may want to go into private to have questions on that. So are there anybody want to have questions, or do we need to go in private on the items before us in the confidential attachments? Yeah, it would be that there. If so, we would be doing that after, we would just before lunchtime or just before recess, we'd actually go in. Reason I want to bring it up now, because we do have to notify the divisions and the division heads that we will be potentially going into camera. So if we do have questions, we could notify them properly. And if we don't have questions, that's fine. Are there any other questions with regard to that or anything else before we begin the process? So, Councilor Maverick, I just wanted to know, do you get a sense that we may have to go into private at this point? Okay. What I'll do is we'll notify the division heads now, just so they're aware that we will potentially be going in. And as soon as, I don't want to leave it, but I don't want to have them come down here if we're not going to be having questions. So if you can maybe let me know in the next 5 minutes if you feel we have to go into a camera, then we'll do that. Okay. Okay. So it looks like, I don't think there are other questions from councillors to have to go into private, so we won't have to notify then. Okay, so we'll move forward with that then. We'll begin. The first agency, of course, is the Toronto Public Library, who will be doing a presentation. And then from there, welcome, come on up. And after the presentation, we'll have questions.
Good morning, everyone. What we have in front of you today is our 2018 preliminary operating and capital budgets for the library, and we really feel that the budget request is a fiscally responsible and it's based on a rigorous review of our budget lines and incorporates a number of cost-saving efficiency initiatives. TPL has an excellent track record of capital spending, and one that's, however, with the fastest growing state of good repair backlogs in the city. So I'd like to start off by giving you some context for the 2018 operating budget. So moving to slide 7, I'll start with staffing. Staffing is our greatest asset and represents 75% of our operating budget. As the chart on this slide indicates, TPL has had significant downsizing of its workforce since 2009, most notably between 2011 and 13. In fact, since 1998, TPL has had a 14% reduction in staffing levels despite increased service demands, introduction of new services, the opening of 4 new branches, and expanding our open hours, including Sundays. As part of the 2018 operating budget submission, The proposed technological innovations would result in a further decrease of 4.5 FTEs in 2018 through attrition and another 4.5 FTE reduction in 2019. These technological innovations are tied to our capital funding that will be discussed in later slides. Moving on to slide 8, this represents our actual vacancies at the end of 2015-16 and projected as of September 30th, 2017. We've reported 89 vacancies, or 40 positions higher than our 49 vacancies required to meet gapping of 2.8%. But this higher number of vacancies is the result of staff allocation to vacant positions during the extended closure of the North York Central Library. Moving on to slide 10. We're on track to complete 92% of our priorities in our 2016 to 2019 strategic plan. In 2017, we further advanced initiatives that address the city's poverty reduction strategy, including Wi-Fi hotspot lending, the establishment of 2 new hubs at Albion and Barbara Frum branches, and introduced year-round Sunday service at 6 additional district libraries. Slide 11. Other significant accomplishments in 2017 include the establishment of 3 new digital innovation hubs at Albion, Agincourt, and Downsview, the development of or expansion of key partnerships with Google, Cisco, TD, and Sun Life Financial to advance our strategic priorities, and the introduction of mandatory Indigenous cultural competency training that has already been completed by many of our staff. In terms of ranking and satisfaction, TPL continues to be the busiest urban library system in the world, with extremely high customer satisfaction rankings across multiple indices. In 2016, the trend of high use continued, with Torontonians using the library in large numbers, and this slide represents some of the statistics regarding borrowing, visits, program attendance, and wireless use. In 2016, there were 103 million uses of the library, which is a 22.4% increase since 2007, including access to current and emerging technology and training, literacy and lifelong learning, and diverse cultural experiences delivered through our 100 branches, and expanding online on our digital channels. The TPL's services are closely aligned to the poverty reduction strategy, aiming to reduce income inequality and enhance the quality of life for residents and communities, including those living in neighborhood improvement areas. In terms of our open hours, the overall 32% has been achieved in the open hours plan, and it's been done in several ways, including efficient scheduling practices, the implementation of self-service circulation in all of our branches, and the opening of 2 new branches at Scarborough and Fort York, and the addition of Sunday hours mainly funded through the city's poverty reduction strategy. In 2017, we received funding through the operating budget for expanding Sunday hours at our 5 additional district branches, resulting in year-round Sunday service at our 2 research and reference libraries and 12 district libraries, and in total we have 33 branches currently offering Sunday service. Just quickly, in terms of our efficiencies, we've had a long and successful track record in leveraging technology and efficiency improvements to manage constrained budgets and expand and improve service. And what this slide does is summarize some of the key efficiencies and improvements we've made over the past 10 years using investment in technology, Lean Six Sigma methodologies, and all the while keeping an average operating budget increase to less than 1% annually. In terms of our business modernization and transformation initiatives, we're currently these are being rolled out and will continue into 2018. These include both back office efficiencies and a focus on customer interactions and increasing options for self-service. A further savings of nearly $1 million over 2 years is included as part of a TPL's 2018 preliminary operating budget. And then in terms of our history of budget increases on slide 19, as this chart here illustrates, the library's cumulative budget increase over the past 7 years, including the 2018 preliminary operating budget increase, is of 0.9%. which we're proposing today, is only 5.8%, or an annual average increase of 0.8%. This overall budget increase is less than 50% below the rate of inflation over that same period of time. At the end of September 2017, we are projecting a balance of the operating budget by the end of the year. In terms of key issues and challenges for 2018 and beyond, use and demand for library services continues to be very high, and the key challenge for TPL is to continue to meet the service demands while consistently reducing costs through efficiencies and technological transformation in order to achieve positive outcomes for all Torontonians, including equity-seeking groups. And now I'd like to just speak a little bit about the details of the 2018 preliminary operating budget, and I'm going to go right to slide 25. On this slide, we're showing our operating budget, base budget, which is at 0.9% increase over 2017 and represents the Library Board's approved base budget submission. The next slide, this slide details the key cost drivers for 2018. And the budget pressures are mainly due to staff COLA costs and general inflation and some other features. The cost pressures are offset by identified budget savings, including further technological efficiencies, which are explained further on the next slide, which is slide 20. Okay, so 28, sorry. With a capital budget investment of $3 million over 2 years, TPL is able to achieve operating savings of $455,000 net in 2018 and $475,000 net in 2019, including a reduction of 4.5 FTEs in each year through attrition. We also have a number of enhancements that we've identified which are included but not funded, and they have been referred to the budget process. These include an expansion of poverty reduction initiatives, including expanded Sunday hours, 3 additional youth hub locations, and expansion of Wi-Fi hotspot lending program. In addition, there are 2 other initiatives in partnership with the city, including an e-learning initiative in collaboration with the city, George Brown College, and Cisco Net Academy, and support for advancing transformational change, which is an initiative which is part of the city's shared services mandate. So TPL's preliminary operating budget outlook for 2019 and 20 is 3.3% and 1.4% net, respectively. So now I'll turn on to the capital budget. This slide is a summary of our key projects completed in 2017 and shows that we've continued to make progress on physical and technological infrastructure as well as online service initiatives. The next slide shows our capital budget of variance, and we have a 5-year capital spending rate of almost 90%. At the end of the 3rd quarter, the capital spending was projected in 2017 to be $28.8 million, or 77% by the end of the year. In terms of the key challenges for 2018 and beyond, the assigned 2018 to 27 debt targets are inadequate to meet TPL's capital funding need. Under the preliminary plan, the state of good repair backlog at the end of 2027 is projected to be over $146 million. There is growing demand for digital and online services, and the technology infrastructure needs to be responsive to the change, growth, and replacement and enhancement of technology to meet demand, which requires capital funding as TPL continues to refine its digital strategy. Investments in state of good repair is essential for TPL to continue to maintain its existing assets while continuing to meet demand for modern library service. We continue to make our state of good repair backlog a priority, and we're very grateful that the preliminary capital plan includes a $1.5 million of additional funding beyond the debt target. However, as mentioned earlier, the backlog continues to grow to $146 million by the end of 2027. Modernizing service delivery will achieve operational efficiencies by eliminating duplication of work while improving the customer experience. as well as initiatives such as investments in mini sorters, conversion of landline phone system to voice over internet protocol, and introduction of more efficient multifunction devices. So in terms of the key projects for the capital budget and plan, these next two slides provide details on those projects for 2018 to 2027. So moving on to slide 41. This slide illustrates the impact of State of Good Repair funding over 10 years within the approved debt targets. The State of Good Repair backlog under the preliminary capital plan is estimated to grow to $146 million, or 14.9% of an asset value of $980 million in 2027. As you can see on this slide, in the dark blue bars, the debt funding levels fall significantly starting in 2022 by close to $10 million annually. And then moving on to slide 44, which is the last slide in the presentation. This slide shows TPL's unfunded capital needs, including 7 projects submitted as below-the-line requests. TPL has $200 million of unfunded State of Good Repair backlog and other service improvement and growth-related projects that are currently beyond the city's debt affordability targets, including a State of Good Repair backlog expected to grow to $146 million. That's the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll begin with questions of committee members. Councillor Mihevc.
Yes, thank you. You don't have a slide on ratio of full-time to part-time. Could you speak to that a little bit? In my mind, I'm wondering whether I should ask for a briefing note on that.
About 50% of our staff are full-time, 25% are part-time, and another 25% are pages, which are only part-time positions.
What was it 3 years ago, 5 years ago?
It would have been similar. I'd have to get you the actual numbers, but the ratios haven't changed a lot over the past few years.
Oh, I see. Okay, so, okay, that's good to hear. Would it be fair to say your efficiencies are, there have been no cuts, but your efficiencies are technology-driven rather than nip and tucking a bit here and there?
No, it's not just technology. Technology has really been a really important factor, but we've also used Lean Six Sigma methodology so that we find efficient. We do business process reengineering of our labor-intensive processes to find efficiencies, and we've been very successful in using that methodology. We started in 2011 using that methodology, and we continue to use it today.
Okay, on page, well, let me just ask this question with this preface. I think a modern city has libraries operating 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning to 9 or 10 at night, 7 days a week. How many branches of our 100 branches are there now? How many will be there after this budget? Could you give us a panorama of where we are?
Well, we have 17 district libraries and 2 research and reference libraries. Those libraries are all open Monday to Saturday. 14 of those libraries are open year-round on Sunday. When if our enhancements are improved for Sunday service, then all of the district libraries will be open year-round on Sunday, because we'll be adding another 5 on Sunday.
Okay, and keep going. How many are open 5 days a week?
I'd have to get you that information. I don't know off the top of my head.
Do you think that we should be striving for a city with libraries that are open 7 days a week?
That would be,
kind of demand
the library board has an open hours vision plan, which they adopted in 2006. We're about 32%, we've achieved about 32% of that plan. So yes, in answer to your question, yes, increased open hours is certainly a benefit for people in the city. And I mean, that report talked about the fact the best thing a library can be is open. And that is certainly the plan of the library board. And we've been working to making that plan become a reality by efficient scheduling, so we can increase our open hours without additional costs, through the introduction of RFID self-service technology in all of our branches, so that once again we could increase our open hours without additional operating costs. And we've achieved tremendous increase in open hours through the poverty reduction strategy.
So you're at 32% now. After this year, assuming that you get the monies requested, you'll be at?
We'd have to calculate that. I don't know what the percentage would be.
And if you were to go to 100?
It would be under 40%.
Under 40%? And could you back of envelope estimate what it would cost to, not for 2018, I'm thinking 2019 beyond, if we asked you to come back with a plan for, say, a 4-year strategy to achieve your open hours plan? Just back of envelope, what kind of money are we talking about, just for fun?
Well, I couldn't estimate. It would be millions of dollars.
Okay, and my last question is this, I'm looking at, this is becoming my key cheat sheet, is Appendix 3.4. We have the requests in for additional youth hubs, e-learning initiatives, Sunday service enhancements for 1.6. That 1.6 does not include pressures resulting as a result of Bill 148.
That's correct.
That will come in a separate sheet. Josie, is that a separate sheet that's going to come in?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we have made provision in our non-program budget for the minimum wage impact for 2018.
So we don't need to ask for anything related to that?
No, we have already worked with the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, Councillor Burnside, then Campbell.
Thank you. Live and in person, right? Thank you. Through you. Could you talk to me about these? You had an enhanced service request, which were the youth hubs.
Right.
What is the purpose, and what would you actually be doing for this funding? I'm not so concerned with the money as to what they actually are.
Okay, well, the youth hubs are for youth after school, Monday to Friday, and they are in neighborhood improvement areas. And there is a dedicated librarian to the youth hub who is there every day of the week during that period of time after school. And they provide homework help, and we train them in the use of technology. And we also bring in volunteers to help them with particular needs these would be people from the University of Toronto or York University, to help them with their after-school work.
Okay, thank you. And would this librarian, would he or she come in sort of on a part-time basis?
No, they're full-time.
They're a full-time employee.
Monday
You
to
shift
Friday.
them around because you're only using them from 4 to 7, right? For that purpose.
No, they're there for a full 7-hour shift every day, Monday to Friday.
But if the youth hub, presumably you said is after, well, not presumably, you said is after school, so I would assume it's like 3:30 to 6:30 or something.
Well, it's about, they get there around 2:30, and they put in a 7-hour day.
So the youth hub program goes right to, like, for the full 7 hours, or
Yes,
close
it's
enough
a full
to it?
7
Okay,
hours,
that's
yeah.
fine. What's your sick time?
I have an answer for that. I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's,
I think I did ask that.
We sent
yeah.
you the information.
Okay.
I can't remember, but it was low. Do you recall?
I think it's about 7 days a year.
So that's excellent.
On average.
That's excellent, yeah.
Pretty low.
Okay, thank you. I thought you'd remember that one.
I know, I should have.
Yeah, that was like, give me a little lob ball.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Last question, in terms of the borrowing of books or whatever else.
Yes.
Is that up or down? Because you had a lot of statistics about things going up, mostly up. One thing went down in library use, but what about the borrowing of whatever?
Borrowing is stable at 32 million items a year. We are the busiest library system in the world in urban.
But it's stable, that's what I was really trying to understand.
It's stable.
Okay, thank you.
It's shifting within, like there's more e-books and fewer that kind of thing, but it's 32 million.
Sorry, so when you say e-books, is there any labor involved in that?
Well, yes, absolutely. We have to catalog the items, we have to select the items. People don't have to, there's no return in the items, but we've already taken savings as a result of e-books, a greater demand for e-books.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at the savings, I'm just trying to understand the business. So if for an e-book, how would somebody rent an e-book?
They could borrow an e-book with their library card.
Or borrow, yeah, sorry.
Yes, use it going to our website.
So that's my point. That's my question. So if I want to borrow an e-book, I don't go through a librarian like I would with a normal book, no?
No, that's right. You might go through a staff member to help find the e-book that you're looking for or to get a recommendation for a book.
I might. So the actual physical borrowing of books, that's actually my question. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to get
The
to.
physical
Where is that?
borrowing
What's
is
that
done-
number?
Oh, it's over 5 million.
So it's 5 million. And what's that, how does that relate to 5 years ago?
It's increased about 1,300%.
The 5 million?
Yeah. It started out in 2009, we circulated about 180,000 e-books.
No, sorry. I don't mean ebooks. I only want the physical. I only care about the
Oh,
physical.
physical.
book. Yeah. Physical books. How many are borrowed annually?
Physical items are borrowed,
Yeah, it could be more than books, yeah.
yeah, it would be about 27 million.
And how does, 27 million items, okay, and how does that relate to or compare to 5 years ago?
It's been stable.
Stable? Okay, thanks.
It's been stable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. What's a pop-up learning lab?
A pop-up learning lab is like a digital innovation hub, and we have 6 of them across the library system, and we send, it has a 3D printer, some Arduino kits, some Mac Pro computers, and they go and spend a month at a branch. And so if a branch doesn't have a digital innovation hub, then we have a staff member who's trained in how to teach adults and children and youth how to use this new technology, and they spend a month in that location delivering programs having to do with those emerging technologies.
So, how do you cost that out? What are the incremental costs? Is there a staff member that moves around for
Yes.
each? There are set staff for each digital learning hub?
Yes, we have with each pop-up learning lab, we have a staff member assigned to that, and they move with the material, with the set of equipment and resources to branches across the city to deliver those programs.
And you have 3 of those?
We have 6 of those pop-up learning
You have
labs.
6 of those? Oh, it says 3 additional, right?
Yes, 3
Yeah.
additional.
And on the slide that talks about the increased hours, achieved an increase of 486 hours per week. That was over a period of time or just in this past year?
That was
1998.
1998.
Oh, okay, since amalgamation then?
It's 20
Oh,
years ago.
Okay. And the Sunday service hour expansion that you refer to, is that also, over a period of time, or was that in the last?
That's really accelerated with the poverty reduction strategy, and we've been able to achieve it. We've certainly increased Sunday hours since 1998 because it wasn't available across all the amalgamated system. But the actual, the greatest advancement in Sunday hours has been in the past few years through the poverty reduction strategy.
I would think Sunday hours would be one of the most popular days, wouldn't it?
It is the most popular day.
What's the least popular day?
Well, Friday nights are lower use time.
Right?
Yeah.
And what steps does the library do then to perhaps look what a store owner would do, curb hours at times of day when it's unpopular or there's just not much usage?
Well, we have looked at that, Councillor, but when we looked at Friday nights as an example, we were able, because of our business intelligence strategy, we were able to drill down and find out who is using branches on a Friday night. And what we found, we have 23 branches open on a Friday night. We found that across those 23 branches, it's adults, middle-aged adults and young children using those branches. So they're likely there to get materials for the weekend to read with their kids or get some DVDs or something. And then when we looked at the neighborhood improvement areas that have Friday night service, what we saw was there weren't many adults there, but there were a lot of youth between the ages of 10 and 17 and younger children as well. So what that tells us is there are a lot of youth Friday nights in neighborhood improvement areas that are there without adults, and instead of being, you know, elsewhere in the community, maybe at the mall or wherever, they're in the library. So for those locations, we only have 23 open on a Friday night. For those locations, Friday night service is very important to them, even though it's one of the evenings when we aren't as busy as other nights.
Got it. Okay, that's my questions. Thank you. Thank you for the answers.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carroll next.
Oh, thank you. My local question is a capital question, but just to provide the well, there's not much point to this question now because the person who was asking the questions before is not here. But can we just do an overview question? Is it fair to say that you have been expanding the system over the last several years, expanding the system, expanding hours where you can, expanding use where you can, without increasing staff exponentially, using automated checkout and automated services like ebooks?
Yes, we've done that with a 14% reduction in staffing.
With a 14% reduction in staffing, thank you. And then my other two very specific questions, because I don't see it reflected here in the budget, but I think it was kind of a late-breaking thing. Have we resolved the issue around the museum pass with Sun Life pulling it?
No, we have funding in 2018, and our foundation,
okay.
They gave us a year's notice. So for 2018, our foundation is actively searching for another sponsor. There's a lot of interest in the Museum and Arts Pass program, and I'm confident we will find another sponsor.
And the musical instrument piece.
Yes.
I know it's popular in my ward. Is that part of the pullout? We have to
No.
find a replacement for that?
No.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not, just the Museum and Arts Pass.
Okay, that's excellent. My capital question is local, only because I can't find it in the long-term plan. We're holding in a city envelope some participatory budgeting money to be spent at Pleasant View Library, but we wanted to do it when the Pleasant View renovation comes up. There's a renovation there for automated checkout and some other improvements, and at that time we were going to add in the 3D printing library, but I don't see it in the plan. Am I just missing it?
It may be within our multi-branch. I'll have to get back to you on that question. I don't.
Yeah, if you could get back to me.
Oh, it's Section 37 funds, sorry. When are we doing it?
Next year, if the money is free.
If the money comes through, we'll be doing it in 2018.
Oh, okay, because I want to wrap that up while I'm still here, if you know what I
Yes.
mean. Okay, thank you. So maybe I'll arrange an offline meeting to make sure it's all tickety-boo. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nunziata next.
Okay, thank you. As far as the Sunday service, so how many branches are you adding on to the Sunday service?
9 branches.
9 branches.
Yes.
So these are 9 branches that don't have Sunday service.
That's correct.
Okay, so have we ever, as a library, has ever done an assessment on these branches that do have Sunday services on the number of people that access
Yes, it's
the
our.
Sunday service from branch to branch?
Yes, we do, absolutely. We do a regular quarterly analysis of our performance measures and our use on days of the week, such as Sundays.
So you would be able to give us that if we ask for a briefing note?
Sure, yes,
Those,
for sure, yes.
Okay. Now, as far as, what are the hours of the other libraries? Like, when do you open and when do you close?
For Sundays?
No,
No.
just any other day.
Well, it depends
Do they
on,
vary, or do they all open at the
we have 4 bands of hours. So the district and research and reference libraries and a few of the larger, busier neighborhood branches are open 65.5 hours, and they're 9 to 8:30 Monday to Friday, and then they're open 9 to 5 on Saturday.
So 9 to, and the other branches?
Some are open, are open 50.5 hours a week, and they have 3 nights of service, and they're open 9 to 5 on Saturday, and they're open Monday to Friday. And then we have our 40-hour branches, which are open Tuesday to Saturday, and some of them start open at 9:30, but then they'll some open at 10.
Yeah, okay. So, but last year we gave you funding for Sunday hours,
Yes, you did.
right?
Yes.
We did that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So the youth hubs, do we partner at all in these neighborhood improvement areas with the youth hubs with some of the youth agencies that we have in the community? Do we partner with them at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Because a lot of these agencies are doing a lot of good work within their agencies. So do we partner and bring them in?
Yes, absolutely, and actually, that's helped us meet the demand for the youth hubs. The youth hubs have a capacity of about 30 kids each day after school, and we get regularly 60, 70, 80 kids after school in each of these youth hubs. And so the way we've been able to manage the capacity is through, and the demand is through partnerships with local agencies and with universities as well, and with students at those universities. And then we have overflow space in the branches to try to manage it.
Okay, now I know at one time there was an issue with collecting collection fees, right?
The fines?
Yes. So what is that percentage now? Because at one time there was a huge amount that we had to write off.
Our current purges are about $700,000 a year. It's been in a decline for a number of years. We do use collection agencies. We have one of the strictest collection policies among libraries, and the purges happen by the system once a year when the accounts are below a certain dollar amount and been outstanding for a certain number of years. And the purges are necessary to keep the database up to date and manageable. The average purge is about $15 in value.
So what was the loss in 2017?
2017, the purge was about $700,000.
So there was a loss of 700,000?
The system had to write it off, yes. They're very small balances, and we don't send children to collection agencies. And we've tried to do, we send the adults to collection agencies, and they have been unsuccessful to collect it. And after a certain amount of time, we have to purge the amounts.
Okay, just last question. On page 33, the capital budget, the projected underspending is mainly due to receiving delays in receiving necessary approvals. Can you explain that?
Well, it takes about, our site plan approval process takes about a year, and then there are particular projects that have been delayed because of their complex and large projects. So the Bayview project, which is the Bessarion project, has been delayed. We've had delays with site plan approval at the Witchwood Library, but we hope we'll have the approvals for that early in the new year. The other thing is we overspent our capital budget in 2016 because we were ahead of schedule on the Albion project, and so that meant we had to underspend in 2017 because we overspent in 2016.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to outside councilors now. Councilor Ajamari to begin.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of issues. I'm looking at page 44, unfunded capital projects.
Right.
I see that Downsview's renovation is again, for the third or fourth year in a row, unfunded, and it's the first one below the line.
Yes.
Did you grumble? I thought you grumbled. Would you like to talk about why that is necessary, please? And
Well-
the final sum, is that 8 million? Is that what it says there?
No. Where are you looking? Sorry.
Total project cost.
Oh, for Downsview, sorry. Yes.
It's on page
Yes,
44.
page 44. Yes, 8 million. Yes.
What is it for? Why is it needed?
Well, it's for the renovation of the branch, and there are a number of issues with that branch. Once we start renovating, there are building code issues, and which we'll have to address. So that's why it's $8 million.
So in some people's perspective, it would be worth building a new branch instead of renovating.
Well, we'd have to, that's not what our assessment has come up with. However, I can tell you, we are undertaking a facilities master plan, and we're looking at all of our facilities, and if that were the case with Downsview, that would be something that would come through our facilities master plan.
So why do you think that it comes so close every year and just doesn't make the cut?
Well, partly is the size of the project. And we look at the needs, and we have a lot of significant issues we need to address with our state of good repair in our 100 branch system. Yes.
And also the debt targets are fixed and falling, and therefore it hasn't been increasing, and therefore we haven't been able to accommodate the project.
So, yeah, so it is a debt target issue. Now, the other one I wanted to ask about was the, in keeping with the city's poverty reduction strategy, 3 area libraries have been identified as needing a youth hub, benefiting
Yes.
from youth hubs. But it's just a nominal 130,000 per branch.
Yes.
Does that mean there is no significant capital attached to that? What's the 130 for? You can't move a wall. You can't.
What we do is we use 130. We use in the first year we use a portion of that money to make the necessary renovations and get the equipment that we need for that space. Then by the fall we are able to get the new space operating, and we hire someone to do the work, and this librarian who will be dedicated to providing programming and services for the youth hub. And then after that, we've got the funding in place for the staff person. So that's
This
how it works.
130 includes the staff person? Yes.
It does.
And does it include food?
Yes, we have after-school food.
Does it include computers?
Yes. That's all part of the programming costs.
Okay. So would this 130 be a request of yours on an annual basis? Or if we get it into the budget now, would it be in your budget?
Well, last year, we had one-time funding for 2 youth hubs at Albion and Barbara Frum.
Yeah.
It was one-time funding, and now it's a pressure in this year's budget. What we are requesting is funding to the base budget so that we don't ask for it every year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much. So quite a few of my questions have been asked, so I'll try and touch on areas we haven't. How did you select these branches for the Sunday hours? I know we had a report back in 2006 before I was on the board to get our libraries open as often as possible, but how did you actually select these ones?
Well, it's based on the neighborhoods and the demographics. There are neighborhood improvement areas or transitioning neighborhood improvement areas, and it's based on geographic equity.
Okay,
To
perfect.
make sure there's a good distribution across the city.
And we know they will be well used.
Very well used.
Wi-Fi hotspots. I don't think we've talked about that so far today. Can you explain? There was one in this one. Well, give us the money and we'll provide one. So this started, I believe, last year or the year before, and the request was not fully funded. But managed to go out to partnership. Can you explain to everyone what the Wi-Fi hotspots are and why
Yeah,
we're asking
we
for more?
started in, yes, we started in 2016, and with the support of the city, we were able to introduce Wi-Fi hotspots funding with $200,000, and we got an additional $200,000 from Google. Because Google was prepared to match the city's funding. And then last year, we had $150,000 for the program, and Google again came forward and matched the city's funding with $150,000. And in addition to that, Rogers came forward, and they're supplying us with the devices, but we pay for the data plan. So that's what the funding is for. It's for the data plans, new data plans to increase the numbers.
So by adding more, we are probably going to get some more matching funds, whether it's from Google or Roger helping us. It's not as if we're just on our own with this. We really have gone out to find partnership with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, again, the board, library board, approved the base budget and the enhancements. Is that correct?
Yes.
And looking at it today, the enhancements which fell below the line, I was very sad we didn't see our iceberg this year. I was looking forward to that, but I assumed that climate change had melted it, so that's why it wasn't there. I'll bring that one back at Transform TO as well. So what we're looking for is another 1.6 million to add the enhancements. Now, 1.2 million of that, I believe, would be under poverty reduction. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then the e-learning initiative and the advancing transformation changes. I believe that we actually at the library board requested that to be fully funded this year, but in the discussions, it was decided to do that over 2 years. Is that correct?
Well, no, yes. In discussions with the city, we wouldn't be able to hire someone because the budget's not approved to the end of February. And then by the time you hire someone, so it makes sense not to have the full year funding in 2018, and then we'd have it in 2019.
And when you brought that back to the board, we all supported that because it made sense.
Yes.
Okay. Just on quickly, state of good repair. I know I come every year and ask if we can get a bit more money for state of good repair because if I'm not mistaken, the library state of good repair is going up, whereas luckily many of the city divisions are now going down. I also understand that library actually is one of the highest rates of using the money we are given for state of good repair. Is that correct?
Our spend rate over the past 5 years is 90%, almost 90%.
And I'm sure that is pretty good compared to some of the other divisions, but...
Just quickly, Councillor, I think Josie had a comment on the state of good repair.
Okay.
Did you want to comment on how it's going up and a lot of us, one or two are still going up and most are going down?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we have some divisions, program areas and agencies that are actually going down.
Yes.
We have some that are going up, and they are part of our kind of laser focus of where we apply funding. Last year, we did add 20 million to this group, a backlog funding. This year, because we were trying to address state of good repair at TCH, we weren't able to.
Right. But it is definitely on the city's radar that we need to. Perfect. That's all. I like to hear that every year, that it's still on the radar, and I don't have to move motions to ask for that anymore. Perfect. Just want to go back to e-books. One of the councillors was asking about e-books. I've got about 10 seconds. E-books, they cost more to buy, do they not, than actual paper books?
Yes, that's true.
And we don't get fines from those, do we?
No, we don't.
Because after 3 weeks, it just disappears off someone's...
Yes.
So actually, our fines are going down because more people are taking e-books, so therefore it has reduced the revenue we used to be bringing in.
Yes, although I would say that decrease has stabilized.
Okay.
And in fact, the city has reduced our fines budget over the past couple of years to reflect the fact that our fines are decreasing as a result of the e-books, but we haven't had to request another decrease to our fines budget because it's pretty stable.
Perfect. That's my question. Thank you.
Councillor Davis next.
Okay. I wonder if you could just clarify what's happened with the library collections. How much is being funded through development charges, et cetera? Have we now got all of those funding of collections on the tax base as opposed to relying on reserves?
So the Collections budget is about $20 million. About $3.6 million is funded from development charges, and that's the allowable amount under the bylaw. And under the new bylaw, that amount will be revised.
Okay, but what I see is a reversal of development charges draw, reversal of one-time library collections. So there's $1.5 million in pressures. Are they still, they're still being relied upon in this year's budget as one-time funding sources?
In 2017, we drew on development charges a one-time bridging strategy of $1.2 million. And we are reversing that over 2 years,
Right.
in 2018 and 19. And that bridging strategy was allowed under the bylaw because we had underutilized development charges.
Okay, so it will be fixed by the end of next year?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we're following the bylaw, and we've consulted with planning to make sure we're following the bylaw.
Okay. Dawes Road Library. I thought that we were looking at 2019 to be doing the planning. There's not any money in this capital budget until 2020 now.
Well.
Did you
no,
push it out again?
The funding, we have carryover funding from 2017 that's going to flow into 2018. We will be, we're hiring an architect to start the design for the new library. And because it's an approved project, if we get into a situation where the project starts to accelerate, we can advance funds from other projects.
Okay, I must have misread the I went through the capital schedule and it shows 2020, there's 45 million, but nothing this year.
No, there's money in 2018, and there's bring forward money as well.
Right.
Well, maybe it's the carry forward money that's, I didn't see in it.
Right.
That's correct. It's
Okay.
$2.2 million of carry forward.
Okay, that's great. So we can begin some planning anyway. Wasn't the original open hours vision premised on expanding Sunday hours through finding efficiencies, technological investment in technology through the capital budget, and then reinvesting those savings into extending open hours? Wasn't that the original plan?
Yes, and we've done that. We have RFID technology in all of our branches now.
But there were jobs eliminated as a result, and in fact, there's another proposal here to find a technological change to reduce 4.5 jobs, and these are just cost savings. Isn't that what we see again?
The technology that we used to increase open hours was the RFID self-service technology, because what that allowed us to do was to, because of the self-service, we could expand the open hours.
Are you saying that the RFID technology has not eliminated any jobs?
We did in
There were 100 jobs that I recall that were cut in 2012.
2012, but that wasn't all from RFID.
Okay, the point I'm trying to make is the original plan was to use technological investments of capital to free up staff resources that could be used to reinvest in expanded hours. Have we done that with all of our savings?
No, not all for all of our technology savings. I'd have to go back to the report. My recollection is the report referred to the RFID technology and efficient scheduling as a way to do it. But I'd have to go back. It was from 2006,
right.
And I may be misremembering. However, we are using our technology savings to help meet our target.
Yes, I know.
0%.
What you're doing is you're using those savings to meet a budget target. I know, that was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Finally, though, you have one technology in here that is about automating room bookings, and that will eliminate jobs, and yet I see on the not included in the budget is the actual technology for advancing transformational change. Is that true? It says not included in the budget, advancing transformational change.
That is the change management position that we is part of the shared services.
Okay. So that capital is in for automated room booking?
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you, Councillor. Councillor Shen, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question around Malvern and the youth hub that's being proposed, and wanted to know how this additional funding can help to look at issues around poverty within the neighborhood. How do you see that helping with?
Well, there'll be a dedicated staff member who will work with youth after school to help them with their homework, and we will have technology there. We'll teach them how to use the technology, and we will help them with math or history, geography, whatever it is that they need help with. And we actually had a presentation at the library board meeting in October, and we had for the youth hub at Fairview. And a couple of the youth hub members came and spoke about it. They talked about the fact that they got into a regular habit of doing homework, which they never did before when they started coming to the youth hub. So they're very popular. Cedar Brae has a youth hub, and that has 80 to 90 kids every day after school. We have to establish overflow areas because we can't handle all of the kids that come for the youth hub experience, and I expect that will be the same at Malvern as well.
Malvern is, at least according to the last census, was one of the highest youth concentration in all of Canada.
Yes.
In terms of, and how do you see this this choice being a fit for Malvern to have this youth hub?
Well, you know, it's a transitioning neighborhood improvement area. I think everyone is familiar with the high youth numbers that are in Malvern, and we want to support youth and make them successful because we all know that if you are successful in school and you are good at reading and understand numeracy, you have a greater ability to be successful in your future.
Now, one of the concerns, you know, it's not traditionally just directed at library, is that the youth that have non-academic goals, you know, it's good to have kids who want to come and do homework and so on, but kids who need additional help in terms of entrepreneurial skills or any other things. So would this be also catering to multiple learning styles and interest areas that young
Absolutely,
people have?
Absolutely. And in fact, what we do is we can redirect kids who come to the youth hub if they need particular support, for instance, with literacy or with numeracy or with what, if they want to be more, or if they're thinking about a small business, we have an entrepreneur in residence. We can redirect them to those programs. So by making that connection with youth, in the youth hubs, we're able to refer youth to other programs within the library or within the community to help them meet their goals.
Now, in terms of the training for this particular staff or the kind of person you're looking at, because one of the other challenges is also not all librarians are completely trained in child and youth worker type, and not all child and youth worker understand the dynamics of a library system. Would you have a particular kind of a frame around hiring people? Because
we have a job description for librarians, and I can tell you that we will be hiring a social worker on a temporary basis for Malvern in particular, because there are a lot of complex issues that we're dealing with the youth in Malvern. But certainly our librarians, I have to say, they're professional staff who are expert in providing customer service and, for people of all ages.
Okay. The last question I have is around the hours, and I know Burroughs Hall is slated to have Sunday hours if this gets funded. Didn't Burroughs Hall have Sunday hours before a while ago, or is this the first time we have proposed?
This is the first time.
First time. Now, in addition to other factors you consider, you talked about geographic equity. A lot of parents do not get home before the library closes on weekdays because of the traffic challenges and transit and so on. So weekend becomes the primary time when parents bring their kids to library in the suburbs. Is that your understanding in terms of how the traffic is during weekends?
For weekends?
Yeah.
Yes, weekends are very popular. Saturday and Sunday service is very popular.
Okay.
For
So
families.
do you consider that as part of the geographic equity in terms of how much time parents get to have after they get home to bring their children or grandparents as well?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Next, we're going to be going to other city. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted You have a quick question? Okay. Okay. Go ahead with your quick question.
Thank you. Through you back to the hubs, the youth hubs.
Yes.
How do you measure the success? I presume it would be through some sort of attendance measurement, no?
Attendance, but we also do surveys with the kids afterwards, and we have, there were very high approval ratings from the kids in terms of how they helped them.
So let me ask you this. If you, would you be able to provide numbers on the youth hubs?
Absolutely. Yes, in 2016, youth made 25,000 visits to our youth hubs. 1,700 received homework help from placement students and volunteers. The youth hubs offered 386 programs. We surveyed the youth hub participants, and we showed that 78% agree that they're comfortable asking the coordinator or tutors for help. 71% felt that attending the program increased their feeling of safety, and 55% agree that they made new friends at the youth hub. So,
and sorry, how many hubs do you have?
We have 8.
8. So that's approximately 3,000 visits per hub. And if you count that in, how many days are there in a 5 days?
It's open 5 days a week.
And there's about 8 months, 520, about 160. So some of these hubs would have about 30, no, not 4 a day.
They weren't, in 2016, they weren't open all year. They opened the two of them opened in the fall. They're only open half a year.
So if you have 20 is 100.
And 2 of our other hubs.
So that would say about 20 kids per hub, right? There's about 2,000 visits a week, and by about.
There are smaller hubs at Sanderson and Centennial, and they don't have the same number of open hours as the larger branches. The branches, and those weren't funded through poverty reduction, those 2. Those were early on funded through our foundation. The 6 hubs that have been funded through poverty reduction are very busy. We get 50 to 60 per day. Others, like Cedar Brae, they get 70 or 80 per day.
50 a day, and that's, okay, thank you. That's excellent, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we're going to other city programs. Are there any questions on the city clerk's office? If any committee, we'll start with committee members. Any questions on city clerk's office? Seeing none, we'll go to outside councillors. Councillor Davis. Councillor Ajimeri, you had questions on, we're doing city clerk's office right now.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was raising my hand prematurely.
Who's dealing with the council budget? Are they dealing with the council budget too? Is the clerks also dealing with the council budget? Okay.
Well, no, there'll be council budget, city council budget, that'll be after. So we're doing just the city clerk's office right now.
Okay. Hold on.
And just to let councillors know, once we finish this round of questioning on these groups here, we will be going into private. There's been a request to go into private to deal with the confidential matters that have been, Councillor Carroll requested that we do go in. So once we finish this questioning, we will.
Okay.
Councillor Davis.
Okay. I know we're going to talk in camera about the actual positions that are being eliminated, but there's going to be 11 positions eliminated in this budget?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's part of the efficiency savings?
Yes. That's part of the review that we have been working through implementing over the last several years of the whole information production area, which business has been changing tremendously.
Okay. I guess we can talk more in camera about what those jobs are. What I wondered was, you've put in the budget sufficient funding for additional furniture and staffing, or maybe that's council budget, for the new ward boundaries. Is that council budget? That's council budget. Okay. But you've added, there's sufficient funding for the elections. And you've added like 14 staff or something to be able to hold the elections.
Yes, we've added the positions that are required to help manage the election, and then, of course, we'll be hiring roughly 16,000 people to staff the voting stations on Election Day.
Okay. When we get the new ward boundaries, clearly we're not going to be able to continue functioning in the same community council structure, and there's going to have to be some kind of a governance review. Is that to look at community council composition, et cetera? Is that something you've addressed in the budget?
No, this is not in our budget. The city manager's office is leading a review of that, and there will be a report on the impact of the ward boundaries, and including presumably a governance review that will be coming forward early in the new year.
You used to keep a registry of community organizations, community residents associations. Do you still maintain that list? And do you keep it updated?
Yes, when people send us updated information. Yeah.
Do we ever proactively update it?
The list is very actively managed, councillors, so yes, we have a considerable back and forth with the various groups, and they provide us with information as it changes, yes.
I know that Ms. Levita will tell me it's a responsibility of corporate services, but you were involved originally in the discussions around what services are going to be provided in which civic centers. Are you still involved in the counter-service review?
We are not leading that study. That is part of the whole discussion with Josie Scholey's groups around the counter strategy as it used to be known, and some of the office modernization, as well as what services go where. Yes.
So in total, these 11 permanent positions, there are 11 permanent positions being proposed to be eliminated in open government and service transformation.
That's your last question, Councillor.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Mihevc.
Yeah. So overall, your budget is $61 million gross, 32 net. The difference is interdepartmental charges. You charge.
It's a component of interdepartmental. Most of it, though, is the revenue that comes in through the various licensing operations, marriage licenses, all that stuff, as well as the printing revenue, and also the reserve revenue, right? The elections is funded through the reserve, so that comes in as well.
Right, I see. Okay. I'm just wondering, and I'm not really, I think we go crazy sometimes here around interdepartmental charges, but where it is helpful for a department like you would be for departments to make sure that the clerks is charging the right amount for departments that are at least partially externally funded. How often are they reviewed? When's the last time you reviewed them to make sure that the number's right?
Our external revenues, we review virtually annually because we need to make sure that we don't charge too much for any of our services and we find the right balance, given that there are services that people could obtain from surrounding municipalities, so we're very aware of that. This year, we've only increased our user fees by inflation. We haven't added any further charges because they're in line with what other municipalities charge.
So your answer prompts another question. Have you ever been asked by another municipality to do their clerking function, like a Richmond Hill, because they're doing their interdepartmental charges are way too high?
No. Well, that's not sure that I understand the direction of that.
It's a possible revenue source, I mean.
We do not provide clerking services.
No, we do not.
No.
We do not.
We've never, that hasn't happened.
No.
It's not poaching.
We don't have the capacity either.
Yeah, no, yeah, but your answer to the last question, that they might poach our work, say for public health or libraries or police, or if they're even thinking of doing that, but they're not. Yeah.
No, I mean, what I was referring to was, for example, marriage license. You could go to Mississauga and obtain your marriage license, right? It's not a requirement that if you live in Toronto, you apply for it here.
People are still getting married?
Yes, they are.
Any other questions, Councillor? You done? That's it. Okay. Thank you. Seeing no other questions, we'll move to the City Council budget. Questions? Yeah, they do the same. So, Councillor Nunziata.
Yeah, so there's an increase in the operating budget for councillors?
The CPI adjustment.
There's two components. One, the CSOB policy contemplates that there is an inflationary increase every year to those budgets. And the second increase is about $112,000 and some dollars, which will result from the addition of 3 new ward offices for 1 month in 2018.
So the total increase is, I don't see it, but what is the total increase? I can't find it on
It amounts to 0.6%.
Okay, and then once the new, after the election with the new ward boundaries, then that's going to be a huge increase, right?
Yeah, that amounts to $1.4 million in the next year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Good outside. Any inside council committee members? No. Councillor Davis.
So I understand you've added for furniture and for staffing for the 3 new wards, correct? But you're also making reductions. And the reductions you're proposing, I don't understand the telephony one. You're proposing to change what the central budget will pay for phones. Could you tell us what the policy is now and what it proposes?
So right now, there's a provision in the policy that allows for telecom costs to be paid out of the general budget as opposed to the office budget. So that's for one device, one mobile device per counselor for that. So that's the voice and the data plan for the phone.
Right.
And also for the tablet. So it's approximately $150 per counselor per month.
That's the existing policy.
That's the existing policy.
And your proposal is to cut that?
Is that those charges be charged to the office budget, not the general budget.
The other one is a newsletter. So there was a newsletter that was paid for through a central account. That's being recommended to cut as well.
That's correct.
And that was the postage. So I'm always curious to know what happens to the surplus. I guess it all goes back. Do you start with the amount of money each councillor, the full amount every year? Or do you take that office budget and you start out by reducing it, the overall councillor's office budget, start out with it reduced based on last year's actuals.
Yes, and whatever surplus there is goes into the, what we call the transition reserve to help fund the various items that would need to be paid for when a council changes. So there's the severance costs for staff and councillors and those sorts of costs.
The furniture is a
as
separate.
well.
Was all the money, the original 150,000 that came from the, I can't believe we cut that one actually, Intergovernmental Relations Reserve went into furniture a couple of years ago. Is that all spent?
Yeah, it's a separate reserve, Councillor, and that is what we will be funding the additional furniture and equipment from.
But we've been using it for the last 3 years. So how much is left?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's actually on page 14 of the budget notes for City Council.
Page 14, sorry?
Yes, of the budget notes for City Council budget. It shows the council furniture and equipment reserve at the end of 17.
Oh, there it is.
At $237,270.
It started out at 100. It started out at 74,000. We're growing the furniture reserve to 240,000.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we have these two reserves, the transition reserve, as the clerk mentioned, regarding severance and other costs.
2.3 million.
Right, which we understand is where we are funding all transition coming out of an election. Right, so annually, if there is a surplus in the city council budget, it goes into these two reserves. There are annual.
It used to be 525,000, it's now 2.3 million. That's the council transition reserve, and the furniture, as I said, has gone from 74 to 240. We're growing these reserves.
Well, if you look at 2014 on the transition reserve, we actually withdrew 2.2 million in severance costs, right? So we try to build that up in anticipation of post-election.
I do suspect there's going to be a few exits this year too. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mihevc.
To confirm, so right now, the proposed budget cuts the newsletter entitlement. That's, and if we want to do that, that would come out of our whatever, that 30,000-ish.
It was like that last year.
No, it wasn't like that last year.
Yeah, we cut it last year.
Sorry, last year was a cut? It was in last year. It was in, what was it and what is proposed?
It was a proposed cut last year, and council reinstated it.
Okay, okay.
It is one of the very few discretionary items that you have left in your budgets to cut.
Right, okay. And then the other piece is the, there's a lot of words here. I'm just trying to cut, just a 3.1, cut to the chase. On the wireless and on the IT stuff, what's the proposed change there?
That is the monthly charges associated with cell and data service on the councillor's phone and tablet. It's approximately $150 per month.
And it was in a centralized budget. Now it would go to our individual budget if this goes through.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, I understand. Is there anything else that we need to? Okay, thanks.
Those are the two items, Council.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, next we'll go to the office of the, oh, sorry, Councillor Doucette had a question?
I'm sorry, it's sort of following up on Councillor Mihevc and Councillor Davis. So looking at councillors' office budgets now, you know who goes where and what is being spent. By removing the first newsletter, or a newsletter, and by removing one cell phone and one tablet, are there going to be councillors who are going to go over their budget, which means that they cannot do any newsletters at all?
One of the, I suppose, implications of the CSOB policy is that councillors have to actively manage their budgets. So yes, we report regularly to council with the information that they need. They have the information online, and we do expect that councillors will, and they regularly ask the staff how they're doing on their budget. So yes.
But I guess with boundary changes, if that does go ahead, councillors won't have 100,000 residents to get a newsletter out to. I have about 56,000 residents right now with 22,000 households, and it costs me about $6,000 for printing, and we design our own, and for stamps, or mail, whatever the heck we call it. So I guess, but my question is that, is this going to be eliminating some offices from sending out a newsletter? And if it does, are there going to be provisions to allow councillors to at least one letter? Because we are meant to communicate.
That's really up to the individual councillor in terms of how they set their priorities for the expense allocation that they have. It's really how you prioritize. If you think newsletters are critical, then you would spend the money on your newsletter. If you think other items are more critical, then you spend on those.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're going into a second round here. Councillor, you haven't had your first, okay. Okay, so we aren't going into the second round. Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Burnside.
Thanks. Spoons, you go after me. Thank you, through you. So I just want to understand this newsletter thing. So is our office budget being increased, or just by how much, really? I heard it's being increased, but by how much, notwithstanding, taking out inflation? I don't care about inflation.
Your budget is being increased by inflation.
So, okay, so, and then the full cost of the newsletter is coming to within our budget, right?
Correct.
Okay, so how many councillors, and let's say it's $6,000, how many councillors are within the $6,000 of going over their budget?
We don't have that information with us, but we can certainly get it for you.
But it certainly would be probably less than half of council.
Yeah. Many councillors.
Well, I don't have that
now
one in front of me,
use-
Councillor Nunziata.
Many councillors now
Yeah,
use.
so, right. So the
obviously,
impact is negligible in terms of the numbers, and to your point, it's about managing a budget, which is kind of why we're all here, right? Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Appendix 2, program summary by expenditure category, there's a line item, service and rent, preliminary budget $241,000. That's on page 17. Oh, am I on city council or city clerks? I'm on city. Oh, I was on city council. Are we asking, am I allowed to ask questions? Yeah, city council. That's page 18. 17, sorry. Is that 240, I just want to ask what that 241,000 is covering. Is it, how many councillors have outside offices that we're renting other than in the local civic centers?
Just give us a sec. Yeah, we don't have that breakdown here. We can certainly get that.
Okay, so, but you might know this. How many of the 44 councillors, how many are renting space in offices outside of the local civic centers? Because I rent from the local civic center, which is the city paying the city, right? So there's really no exchange of cash. But other councillors, they buy space, and there's an expenditure. And I'd like to know how many councillors are doing that and what that cost is.
We can provide that for you. It is not a significant number, but there are some, and I think it really is up to them, given the discretion that they're allowed to exercise through the policy. And it also depends on where they're located. Some wards are, as you know, quite a distance from the civic centers.
But that money does not come out of their budget, does it? does that come out of their $30,000? So if I'm Counselor X and I'm spending $10,000 a year to rent a nice little place where people can come in, you know, once a week, that's coming out of the central budget.
That's correct. So each counselor is entitled to one constituency office paid for by the general budget.
Okay. One constituency office.
There's an office based at City Hall that is covered, and
Right.
one constituency office either in the community or in a civic center.
Okay. And so in terms of discretionary budget, that would be part of a discretionary budget. But why do the clerks not make a distinction between paying an outside entity and paying for a civic center office?
Because it's covered off that way in the policy. That's up to councillors. We can provide further information on the breakdowns of the number of councillors who have outside offices. We just don't have that.
So I'll request that through,
apologize.
I'll formally request that through a briefing note then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we will now go on to Office of the Mayor. Are there questions of the Mayor's budget? Seeing none, we're going to work our way down the list. Arena Boards of Management. Are there questions of the Arena Boards of Management? Seeing none, we'll go down to the Association of Community Centers. Association of Community Centers, questions? There's no questions, so Young Dundas Square. You'd actually, but if there's no questions, there's no point of them coming up to the table. So all the appropriate divisions are here if there are questions. So Young Dundas Square. Civic Theatres Toronto. Councillor Campbell has, so Bill, I believe you'll, if you want to come on up, and we have some questions on the Civic Theatres. Councillor Campbell.
There's, good morning. There's obviously been some savings realized by the amalgamation of the three theaters. Can you just talk about whether or not those savings were on target, or were they not on target?
Yes, so there were savings through some terminations that happened earlier in 17, but those savings were reinvested into middle management and lower management and front of house staff. There was really no target set for us to meet when we amalgamated. In fact, there was...
Okay, all right. Can you talk a little bit about some of the savings in terms of, I mean, were jobs rationalized? Was duplication sort of cut out between what different roles at the various theaters?
Yes, I mean, the most obvious one was there were 3 general managers at the 3 theaters, and then so all those roles were eliminated. Mm-hmm. There was also some duplication around box office, front of house staffing, but as I say, they were all reinvested into those front of house staff.
So box office, I would think finance and accounting, there would be some savings?
Yes, there was a couple, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
How many staff, okay, so prior to the amalgamation, how many staff were at the 3 theaters? Employed by the 3 theaters?
I don't have those numbers in front of me that I can remember, because most of our staff is part-time.
Right, I would think so. Okay. Right, how many, approximately how many full-time staff would be employed by each theater?
Currently there's a complement about 65, 67.
Full-time staff?
Yeah, with some new positions in the budget for 18.
Sorry? Oh, so 65 positions prior to the amalgamation or after?
After.
How many were, do you know how many there were before?
Like I say, I'd have to get you that information because I don't have those numbers off the top of my head.
Okay, well, this is the time for us to be asking questions. So, All right, it mentions that the base budget is driven by increased volume of programming activities, marketing and branding, 300,000 being spent on marketing and branding. What is that? Is that for each individual theater or collectively, or what is that?
That's collectively. It involves, once we get the new name, doing a campaign around that, as well as a new website.
Right. So yeah. So this is what this is okay. So this is the point that I'm not certain. It's about the staffing. It's a staff complement will increase by 45 individuals, 45 FTE from 2017 to 2018, entirely driven by increased volume of activities. So if we've amalgamated, how is it that we're adding people?
Most of the staff charges for the performances are charged back to the user. So a lot of that, the 45 increase in FTEs is stagehands, ushers, which get charged back.
Okay.
Just to flow through.
So, all right, then, how is it you're adding all of these people? And these are full-time people. These are not part-time, because I mean, this would be expressed as a full-time number.
It's expressed as a full-time, but they're all part-time. They come in when there's the show, and then there's no show.
So it's 300. It's 300 on a part-time basis.
Correct.
Not permanent. I get it. But still, the full-time equivalent is 44. We're not talking about 44 individuals coming in part-time. The full-time equivalent is 44.
Correct.
Right. So how is it that savings of $600,000 are achieved? That's correct. Josie, that's correct.
That's through you, Mr. Chair. That was one-time funding that was provided last year to help support the transition to amalgamating the three groups. So it's no longer required. So that's what's coming out of the budget this year.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay. That's all my questions then.
Thank you, Bill. Just a couple of follow-up questions. And you mentioned that, so there was severance out of the positions that were deleted. There are severance costs that have to be dealt with, and in fact are being dealt with, I believe, this year. So out of the amalgamation and the work we've been doing, and just so my colleague, Councillor Campbell, would understand that with the increased volume, with everything that we've been doing, the Civic Theatres will actually be coming in with a healthy surplus this year. Is that correct?
That is correct, excluding the termination costs and the transition costs.
So all the work that we've done in amalgamating those three theatres is now starting to pay off?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Toronto Atmospheric Fund. Okay, we'll go to the Toronto Zoo. Did you have questions on the Toronto Zoo, Councillor?
Did I hear that from Councillor Davis?
The exhibition place.
I have a question.
Did you have a question, Councillor?
I do.
Exhibition place, okay. If we can have, yeah, come on up, Hardat. I think there is a question.
Let it happen again. I did that last week, actually.
Councillor Campbell, it's all yours.
Just a quick question. It's about the continued construction of the hotel. When did the hotel construction begin?
Hotel construction began in late 2013.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing, Mr. Chair. Can my colleagues please? I'm trying to listen to the deputy. Sorry. When did the construction begin?
About late 2013.
And when is it slated to be completed?
It's scheduled to be open on March 1st, 2018. It's about 92% completed right now. All the major work have been completed. It's more refiner work, like all the beds are in, all the TVs are in, you know.
Is it behind schedule?
Yes, it's certainly behind schedule. Like I was supposed to open in 2015, just about before the opening of the Pan Am Games. Unfortunately, it did not.
So who's paying for the construction?
The construction is fully funded by the hotel operator, HK Hotel.
So they are, how does it work? They lease the site and they build the hotel?
Yes, they have a long-term lease. Just for additional information, Exhibition Place, even though there's a delay in the opening of the hotel, Exhibition Place has been receiving revenue since December 2014 rental revenue, because that was part of the arrangement. Yeah.
So there's no exposure to Exhibition Place as a result of the delays from contractors or, making claims or anything? Or?
None at all. It's strictly 100% the HK Hotel.
I see. And then once the hotel is built, what other revenues do you get? Do you only get leasing costs, or will you get a percentage of the take as people rent rooms?
In addition to minimum base rental, part of the arrangement approved by City Council is that Exhibition Place has a participating rental based on hotel room nights revenue.
Okay. And I apologize for asking this question because I'm sure it's in the notes, but what other significant capital improvements are planned for Exhibition Place?
The significant for the next short term or over the
for the next 5 years?
For the next 5 years is renovating the Coliseum because it's an older building. We'll try to move that building from a Class C to a Class B. So there's a big major portion, over $3 million for roof repairs and windows repairs. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then the Enercare Center itself that opened in April 1997 has been there for about 20 years. So now the roof will need to get replaced after that many years.
I see. Okay. And, okay, that's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, we'll go to Heritage Toronto. Okay, next will be Toronto Region Conservation Authority, TRCA. Are there questions of the TRCA? Seeing none. Well, that's nowhere, we are now going into private. There are questions in private, so. Well, I got to get the motion up that I have to read, and then so what'll happen, we'll go into private, we'll hopefully finish the private session. If we don't finish by 12:30, we could potentially come back into private, but my assumption is we would finish. So I'd like to move that the Budget Committee recess its public session to meet in closed session as the item relates to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, in labor relations or employee negotiations. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There are three items on. There was a confidential attachment that was sent to everybody, but we are now going into private, so we'll take a couple minutes. Okay, we're going into private now. Okay, we're back in public session. We are now recessed till 1:30.